that
This meeting is being recorded.
I knew that that avenue would be a great next step for me away from the accounting arena. And so worked for Conoco for 5 years. I was promoted 4 times. I'm going to come back to that in a little bit. And I had an opportunity to jump into a different career I looked at buying a staffing company in Tacoma. And I ultimately ended up doing that. So I bought a staffing company, one branch, 2 employees, had never sold anything in my life. I didn't have any idea. I only knew accounting and financial management. And so I jumped into that, and I learned how to sell very quickly. We were doing $2 million in revenue. Again, one office, 2 staff, and myself. So I ran that company for 25 years. And at one point, I had acquired a couple of staffing companies in Portland. And at one point, I had 8 offices that spanned from Seattle to Southern Oregon and Medford, Oregon. We grew from 2 million to 16 million over the course of that 25 years. In 2016, my wife and I decided that we wanted to launch a salon business. And so we launched Subculture Salon. We opened a branch in Tacoma and in Snoqualmie. We grew that from zero, which was very scary, to close to 1.6 million over the course of 4 years. 34 stylists, plus estheticians, lash artists, and then COVID hit, and that business got decimated. And so this last year, we sold the staffing company that I ran for 25 years, and we sold the one salon that was left in Snoqualmie to the lead stylist there. Last year, we launched a new company called Aesthetics, Interiors, and Design, and we went into remodeling high-end homes in Scottsdale, Arizona, and doing design work on a number of different projects. So that's kind of my background. We live in Scottsdale now, which we absolutely love. We're dear friends with Jenna and Kamran, and it's been great to have them down here. So back to Conoco. When I went to Conoco, I was in the financial accounting division of that company. Within 9 months, I figured out that all the money that was going to employees or management was on the operations side. I was not on the operations side. I was on the accounting side. So I quickly figured that out, that somehow, some way I needed to get on the operations side to make more money for myself and my family. And so I started figuring out that there were certain key people in the company that were part of the operations. And so I got to know them. And how did I do that? Well, one, they all knew I was a golfer. And so I figured out that, okay, that VP and that VP and that president they love golf and they love a golf game. And so I made myself very available to go and play golf with them on Saturday. And trust me, it was very intimidating and a little scary for me to make that introduction and that, hey, I'd love to go play golf with these guys. And I was a fairly decent golfer. And so I got to know those guys through a golf relationship, which I think was very key to helping me get exposure. And in fact, it did. So they moved me from accounting into an operations role. And so I think one key thing in your guys' careers, I would highly recommend figuring out where the money is made in your company. I don't care if you're in selling something or in whatever industry that you guys are in or that you get into, figure out where the money's being made and align yourself with that. Take a risk and get to know the players in that company. I think that'd be very, very important. It certainly helped me. Looking at my notes here. One other thing that I did at the oil company that really helped me is that some of those key players, I took a chance and invited them to lunch. And I invited them to lunch and I paid for their lunch. Very few people had done that, especially at the lower ranks that I was at. And I think that really impressed them. And they're like, oh, okay, so he wants to take me to lunch. Why does he want to take me to lunch? All right, well, I'm like, I asked them questions about themselves. How did you get to the position that you're at? What did you do? What were the key things that you did in your career to get you into the position of being a vice president of a Fortune 500 oil company? And I just peppered them with questions and asked, how can I follow something like that in my career to get to a position that you're in? And I think they were very impressed with that. I think they were impressed that I actually even bought them lunch. So always, for your bosses and people that you're trying to hobnob with, offer that up. And this costs you 20, 30, 40 bucks, whatever. I think that was really helpful for me in getting to know the key players in that company. One other item in the oil company, I never let my boss beat me to work. I got up, I was there at 6:30 in the morning. He always arrived at around 7. I was always there early, and I never let my boss leave. I never left the office before my boss left the office, ever. And that was painful sometimes. Sometimes, he would work late, and I made it a point that I would never leave before him. I think that showed him that I was a hard worker, that I took my job very seriously, and that I was there for him to help him look good and do his job and be successful in his job. And that got me a lot of recognition among the ranks of the upper echelon of the VPs and the people that were controlling people's careers, really. So jumping over, I left Conoco and I decided to buy a business. Very, very risky. Again, no idea what I was doing. But my point in bringing that up is always bet on yourself. Always bet on yourself, because you can control your own destiny. You can control your own career. And I decided to do that. It was very scary. But if there's an opportunity that comes across that you're looking at and you're considering, and you're like, okay, is somebody else controlling my destiny, or am I controlling my own destiny? And I knew that even though I didn't know anything about sales, I didn't know anything about staffing, I didn't know anything about really running a small company, that if I jumped in and did it, I knew that I would be successful. Somehow, some way, I was going to make sure that I was successful. And when I bought the company, I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I got to the office by 6:30. I worked all day. I get home by 8 or 9. I worked a lot of hours to make sure that I was paying the debt that I owed for the business that I purchased, and that I was providing for my family. So bet on yourself. That's a huge recommendation I have for you guys. Sorry, I have dogs. Hey, hold on just a second.
I did not ever tell him a thing about what to say. I didn't tell him anything about the debt to owe, getting up early. These are all him.
All right, sorry about that. French bulldogs. So I hired my first year at the staffing company. I hired a sales rep out of the freight business, and began to teach him how to sell. And he was really struggling. And one thing that I noticed, that he really felt like his job was a 40-hour job. He would get in at 7, maybe, leave by, 5 or, 4 or whatever. And I noticed that on Mondays he was kind of struggling and kind of feeling behind. And so I took him aside and I said, listen, Dave, if you want to be successful, you have to think of your job and your in selling, and you have to start thinking about that on the weekend, on Sundays, not Monday morning at 7 a.m. when you arrive. Start preparing your week. Start preparing what you're going to do Monday through Friday in the work week. But have that all laid out on Sundays. Take the extra hours on Sunday to do that. And that, I guess that's another point I have. Make sure you're always prepared in your job, whatever that job might be. Lay it out. Make sure you have an agenda for each day of the week and what you're going to accomplish that week. Have some goals. Have some, contact goals. Here's the people that I want to make sure I contact, either a letter or email or in person or whatever, and make sure that starts on Sunday, not on Monday morning. If you want to be successful, it goes deeper than that. One other thing that I used to get teased out about a lot as an owner, penny pincher, and I would set a week. This back a number of years ago, but I'd set a weekly budget of my spending for coffee and lunch, and my weekly budget for coffee and lunch was $15 a week, if you can believe that. And people used to give me the worst time about that. I'm like, listen,
Not 90.
no. I was very frugal. I watched my pennies, and I got made fun of a lot about that. But I was very adamant about, listen, it's a pennies business. If I make one sale, I know what my margin is. I know what my income is going to be on that, and I'd rather not waste it on coffee and lunch and things that I don't need to spend it on. So set a budget, whatever that is, for yourselves, and stick to it. That's a lot of information, guys. And so I just want to open it up real quick for questions. You guys have any questions for me?
Oh, boys.
Yeah, Burke, I got one for you. So first of all, thanks for the time. And, if I can kind of summarize a bit of what you said, I'd like to see if you think this is accurate. It sounds like you kind of had a start in your career that was very like systematic, kind of following the rules, right? Like getting an accounting degree, just kind of sticking to that, right? Not a lot of thinking outside the box. And then as you progressed in that, it sounded like you started to think creatively, thinking about what can I be doing to be an outlier? What can I be doing to kind of stand out? And it sounds like some of the pillars of French Bulldogs are hearing me too. I'll give you a second. Yeah, I'll give you a second.
Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So it sounds like some of the pillars of what caused you to be kind of, an industry shaker, standing on that way was, one, reaching out for connections with people, asking for lunches, along those lines. 2, taking risks and betting on yourself, in whatever capacity, whether that was advancing to another company, shaking up the industry. And then also just outworking, right? Like putting in the input, and putting in more hours than other people, or than what was expected of you. So
Totally.
One of the things that I'm curious about is when you made that decision to take a leap, right? That first business that you bought, what were some of the things that you used to make that decision? And I'm honestly curious how much of it was like just, it was in your bones, it was a feeling, you were trusting your gut. So like, would you say it was a combination of that and other metrics, looking at numbers, financials? How'd that decision come about?
Well, first of all, I combed through the numbers and understood the numbers very well of the current business that I was buying, and understanding that. And from an accounting standpoint, I understand. I'm a numbers guy. Spreadsheeted it out, and I did a 5-year plan. I said, okay, if I grow the business by X amount, and I know the numbers, I know the financials, I know the profit loss, what can I be making in 5 years if I did this? So I was very strategic in how I analyzed the business before I jumped into it. It wasn't a touchy feely thing. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, I got to grow in order to, to service my debt. I needed to grow by 8% per year on the top line. I needed to increase my gross margin, which I did. When I went into my gross margin percent was like 21%. I grew it to 24%. Small increase, but I knew exactly what I needed to do. And before I made that decision, I have to say, I went out and I interviewed with every company I could get an interview with. Microsoft, I did controllers, accounting managers, all sorts of different. I had probably 30 interviews in Seattle, and I compared the offers that I got with the opportunity I had with the staffing company. And every time it came back, I'm like, okay. I mean, at the time, Microsoft was, stock options, and the stock was going to, be growing, and is a big company, and so on and so forth. But I also knew that my income would be tapped out at some point, where I just it would be limited. I knew that, and so I'm like, okay, what's the upside potential of the staffing company? How big can I grow it? How quickly can I grow it? And what's the minimum I have to do in order to service my debt, and have my family be able to have food on their table? And so I just, after going through that whole analysis, is probably, I would think that it was probably 90 days or so, maybe longer, where I went through all the interviews and I compared notes, and I'm like, okay, I have an offer here, I have an offer here, I have an offer here. Here's what the compensation package. I even looked at a sales job up in Alaska, of all places. I mean, I spread my net wide, and I'm just seeing, let's see what I can get. And at that point, I'm like, okay, again, I got to hit 8%. So how am I going to hit 8%? And then I started building a business plan from there. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Because, yeah, I wanted to know your thought process. And I mean, honestly, to see, because it sounded like it was a risky thing. So I wanted to know how much of that was like calculated risk, like numerically, because like you had said, you're in accounting, figured that you were a numbers guy. But yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it was very scary. And you know
Yeah.
what? A little fear, to be honest with you, a little fear, as you make changes in your careers, is not a bad thing. It motivates the heck out of you. And having a little debt, having a little, like, I got to hit this nut every month. Um, it's very, very motivating. And if you're a self driver, and somebody that you can get up in the morning and make stuff happen, I think that you will be successful. And that's me. Like, I was not going to fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Question, Benker. Thank you.
I got a question about the salon business. Funny enough, my girlfriend, that's like her main interest. Like, she wants to be a business owner. She wants to, start a salon and stuff like that. I was wondering if you could just go over like the pros and cons for me, like what worked for you, the process of setting up that business. Do you think it's a worthwhile business? Because obviously I want to support her and everything. So I haven't met anybody thus far who's actually started one and it's made it seem successful. So
Burke, I'm going to let you answer that high level, and I'm going to let Ethan have the opportunity to hit you offline for more granular responses.
Okay.
yeah, it works for me if that works for Burke.
Personal with his, we can go deep with that for them, and I want to make sure the other boys get something out of it too. But guys, watch how we analyzed it and what the pros and cons are.
So the pros are, it's widespread in terms of the number of people that you can touch, and the number of people you can bring into your business. Everybody needs
A haircut.
Everybody, and women spend a ton of money on hair. And so, but in order to do that, we decided to go high end. We're like, okay, we want to be a high end salon, and we picked our niche. So pick your niche. Do you want to be low cost and more high volume, or you want to be more of a boutique salon? And that's the avenue we went. Didn't know anything about it. My wife really wanted to do it. She had some experience in that. The negative is that there's very, very little barrier to entry. Anybody can do it. And the other challenge to that is that you hire a stylist or somebody to come to work for you, and we had all W-2 employees. We had no salon chair rentals. It was all W-2 employees, and we paid a commission based on what they brought in. Anybody can leave at any moment and go open their own salon. And so that's the challenge of owning your own salon. I would recommend if you guys are thinking about doing that, start small. Don't spend a ton of money in the capital to a brand new space and all the stuff. Start small, build your client base, pick your niche of either higher end, medium or lower. Also pick your services. We decided not to do a lot of men's haircuts because men's haircuts didn't pay the bills as much. Hair extensions paid a hell of a lot of money. And so we got very involved with hair extensions for women. They'll pay a lot of money for that. So pick what you want to do and stick to it. Don't be somebody that is going to be a salon for everybody. Be very, very specific on, we're going to be really good at this, really good at this, and really good at that.
And I want you to take some notes, Ethan, and ask some questions on him later. I'm going to get you a connection with him and his wife, Therese, more accurately. Because there's a lot of questions, like things that I know that you might not, or he knows that you might not, about paying everybody W-2, especially in California versus Seattle.
Yeah.
And what that means. There does need to be some capital available for that early on. And it is a very, he'll know better, but there's a lot of people that flip and flop and come in and come out. And so you got to get them locked in, and you have to get a good name and good services. I actually have a friend looking to sell his salon in Montecito. That might be something for you. We can talk about it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Anybody else? Questions?
So I had kind of going off Banker's kind of question to you, Burke, and thanks for coming. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
How important, when you're starting something new, do you find, like, are you reaching out to people who are in that, like finding people who know what they're doing and getting connected with them? Or are you more, I'm just going to jump into this, I've done my own research and I'm gonna kick it off?
No, I was very, very much involved with getting people involved and learning best practices. So tell me, and I interviewed a million different people in the salon industry before we launched. I'm like, tell me the good, the bad, the ugly. Tell me what you would do differently. Tell me what your vibe is, what your marketing strategy. I mean, I was asked a lot of questions. Staffing company. I talked to all the different, I was a franchise. So I talked to a ton of different franchisees and said, all right, what's the deal? Like, give me everything. And I took copious notes, and I was very analytical about the things that they said to me, because they've been there, they've experienced it. And I'm a huge proponent of learning from other people. And I set my ego aside. I don't really care. Just tell me what it is that that will make you successful, and I will follow that. I'm also a very big advocate for take everybody's advice, cast your net wide, and then make your own decisions. You may only decide to do 40% of what you hear because you have a gut feeling of, okay, well, all right, I kind of see what they're doing, but I kind of want to tweak it this way or do it a different way. So I'll take 40% of what people tell me, and then I'll kind of figure out my own plan from there.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
I'll go. Burke, you mentioned, you said you played basketball in college? Is that right?
I did. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So having, obviously, getting to that level, playing in college, regardless of what level college you're playing at, obviously a lot of time, a lot of energy, huge commitment to even get to that level. My question is actually a two-parter. Were there any habits you developed from all those years of playing that you have leaned into when it comes to your business? And the other part, on the flip side of that, were there any habits you had to break that you felt were kind of getting in the way?
Oh, that's a good question. Two good questions. I think for basketball, okay, I mean, let's just be honest. I'm a 6'2" white guy, right? I got and there's a lot of competition at that level. I played 4 years at D3 level. I got inducted to the Hall of Fame after 10 years after the fact. I was very successful with it, but I worked harder than anybody out there. I mean, I in high school, my only avenue to go to college was through basketball. I didn't have people, anybody, my parents weren't going to pay for me. I had zero options. And so when you're at that point, you're like, I'm going to put everything I got into this and see if I can go. And I wanted to go D1. I wasn't good enough. But I got enough. I got good enough to get to a D3 where they would pay for my education. And then at that point, I'm like, okay. And the reason I got there, yeah, I had some talent for sure, but I worked my butt off, and I was not going to let anybody. I remember my coach saying, "Is anybody in the state of Washington working harder than you today?" And I'm like, "Nope, coach, I'm working harder than anybody." And so the work ethic was really, I think, what set me apart. And even when I got to college, they recruit you, and then I get there, and there's 9 other freshman guards, there's 2 JV guards, there's 3 junior guards, and there's 2 senior guards that I have to compete against to get to that starting role. And by the start of the season, I was starting. I got through all of those guys because I worked harder than anybody else out there. And the good Lord, I'm a Christian, so I think I had a lot of help there too. So which was awesome. Your other question: is there anything that um, that maybe hurt me or habits that I had to break? Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think through. Um, I think that the struggle in high school, college, and even after college, early in my career at the accounting firm, it was, how do you balance your having fun and your career? Because working all the time, you got to have some fun in there somewhere too. So finding that balance of, going out with your friends, or going to a party, or going to a nightclub or whatever. Even in college, playing basketball, you still had to find those moments where you're like, yeah, I am going to go on a Friday night and go to the brick house and be with my friends and drink a couple beers and have fun. So I was very, um, you can go one way or the other, and I think trying to find that balance is really important, so that you enjoy your life as you're having your career. I don't know if that answered your question or not, but that's best I can do.
Definitely does. Yeah, no,
Okay.
I appreciate the perspective there. I never got to the college level playing sports, but I played 4 years of varsity soccer in high school, and
That's
so
awesome.
that's why I asked, just from that angle of things.
I think it's a little bit of um, maybe good timing. Somebody sees you at the right time, and maybe it's not. I don't know. I feel very blessed to have had that opportunity, because I say that if you get an opportunity to play sports in high school, that's fantastic and a great experience, and you learn a lot from that, from being on a team and working towards a goal and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, congratulations for that, because that's huge.
Burke won't tell you, but his son is playing also right now and is on NIL scholarship. Pretty cool. Booster paid for basketball. Anybody else with questions?
Yeah, I got just one. Thanks again, Bert, for talking to us. My question is when you say you started the staffing business, or you started picking it up, you had 2 employees. Were you able to? How are you able to implement your drive such an like base? Because you were working very closely with those employees. Like, how did you instill your drive and culture into that team? Especially if they might have been holdovers from a previous owner.
That's a really, really great question. And that's not easy. I bought that company, and then I bought two other staffing companies in Portland, and I had the same challenge in all three instances where I was acquiring current employees of a different staffing company. Um, and to be honest with you, it's really frustrating because um, you go in with your ideas and your ideology of what you want to do and where you want the company to go. And I found out very quickly that not everybody's on that same page. So I honestly, I'm like, I set the goals. I sat down with them, gave them one-on-ones. Here's the expectation. Here's where we're going, what we're doing. And if you can't or won't, then it's probably not going to work out. I was pretty specific about that because I'm like, I'm going to hit this goal, and if you want to go with me, then awesome. I will support you, and we'll go there together. If you don't, then maybe another company is better for you. Um, but on the other hand, I also asked, like, what can I do to help you, and tell me how I can train you or give you more resources or whatever it might be that they needed in order for them to get on board with where I wanted to go. Um, I went through a lot of employees, to be honest with you, because I had high expectations. And I think over the years, I had to kind of lower those a little bit. And I learned, I was bought the company when I was 31. So I was very aggressive, and I think over the years I had to kind of tone it down a little bit in order, because not everybody runs at the same bandwidth that I do, and or the same goals that I did. And the other thing too is I put out some financial goals for them and said, hey, if you help me hit this, then I'm going to pay you a bonus of X amount. And I think that got people's attention too, because you want to incentivize them and make it worth their while to work at the pace that you're working too. And I did. I paid out some very, very good bonuses. They were fair, they were attainable. I went through a lot of employees though.
Yeah.
I did.
That's yeah, thank you for that's really yeah, I love your note too on kind of doing incentivizing, but also incentivizing growth as well. So that's cool.
Everything was all my bonuses were centered on growth of the company. And it wasn't individual. It was if the company got to this point, it was very so. In just as a note, if you set incentive goals, have short term and long term. Short term because you want people to get paid or recognized sooner than later. Don't set a year goal. Set a weekly or a monthly goal. I had every 2 weeks I'd pay out something to the employees to make sure that they knew that I'm watching and they could see immediate results.
Mm-hmm. And then you also had long-term goals as well, you said?
Yeah. So I always had a company trip, or if you hit your goals, I'll there's many times I took the whole company to Vegas or a trip somewhere and paid for it all if we hit our company goals. And so I had individual goals, I had company goals, and then I did biweekly, quarterly, and yearly goals, and that seemed to work pretty well for the industry that I was in the staffing company. It's very trackable. You have to make sure that you're very transparent on the numbers. Everybody can see them, and we did that with the salon too. To be honest with you, we had very specific goals for the girls and guys in the salon, where we would track each week their total sales, their retail sales, what they sold in retail product, and we would incentivize them on that each week, and we would track it on a board and we put it in the kitchen, and so everybody can see. And you create a little competition in the salon for who's doing what, and everybody sees it.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That's some really good insight on, and even how incentives work as well. That's like the insight.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to let you go in a second, but I think that's ask a question in a second. But I think that's a really good, interesting point, guys. What we've been talking about financially is tracking your numbers, tracking your budgets. You've been doing that now, what, year and a half ish? And you can see that your numbers are getting better. You're aware of your spending. But what we're talking about now is in business, it's all numbers, it's all tracking. So we're not treating our personal lives any different than we're treating our professional lives. What gets tracked gets done, right? That's how it works. If you're not planning a date night for your spouse, you're not going to go on dates and you're going to have a good chance of getting in trouble in your marriage, right? So like this is all tracking. Success comes from knowing your numbers and tracking your attitude, tracking your what you do, tracking what you eat, tracking where you go. It's accountability is what you pay for in life. The biggest expense I ever had in that coaching program, they always would say information is free, especially nowadays. What costs you is the accountability. You guys pay up in push-ups and burpees. As soon as money gets stronger, it'll be real money. I'll make you pay up in until we get actions that really line up. But accounting and accountability is everything. Mudrovich, you have a question?
Yeah. Thank you, Burke, for doing this. But as you built these businesses and more so bet on yourself, is there something or some things that you can look back on and wish you would have seen coming before they happened, or any pitfalls to avoid during the process of going out on your own and building something for yourself?
I'm going to preface that Hunter is officially on his own as a real estate agent, and he's about to take off as of yesterday in the world. So this is a very relevant conversation for him. And just want to give you that little background there.
Oh, that's awesome. Congratulations. That's huge that you're doing that on your own. And I wish you the best of luck. That's awesome. Well, it's a great question. Hindsight. I made a ton of mistakes, for sure. And I think giving yourself some grace to make some mistakes, learn from them. But you are going to have some grace for yourself because you're going to make a lot of mistakes going into your own business or a new company or a new role or whatever it might be. And I think, you think about it, I bought the business in 1999 and we're sitting on September 11th today. And 9/11, right? Happened not too far after I bought the business. And that was very scary. And I think for me, I was like, oh no, like, what am I going to do? And so then you have to kind of navigate a little bit and figure out, all right, well, we got to cut costs here. And I think I didn't give it enough credit at the time, where I didn't reduce my costs quick enough because I didn't believe that the business was going to go down like it did. And in sales, you got to plan ahead a little bit and save for the downtimes, because you will 100% have downtimes. There'll be a slump, there'll be a lull. And the staffing company, there was many times where the business, was significantly hit by the economy. And so I think looking back, I think I would have been a little bit more diligent about just being aware of that and then planning a little better for that financially so that I didn't feel it as much. So that would be my recommendation, because you're going to have ups and downs, and be prepared for the downs. And I would say that personally too. And Kamran's done a great job with you guys. And hey, 2 months of I can't remember what he said, 3 months of savings and 2 months of something else, Kamran.
2 months in checking, 3 months in savings.
There it is. And I think that's very, very good advice that he's giving you guys. Just be prepared.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
I'm muted.
Just added one more, if I could just throw out real quick.
Go ahead, one more.
I was just curious, on college. It sounds like your son's already in school right now, but do you think it's like, if you didn't go to school, would you be doing what you're doing now? Or do you think college helped you? Do you think it's hurtful now or helpful now?
I think I would be doing, I don't know if I'd be doing exactly what I'm doing now. It definitely, college helped me, but I've used college as more of a means to an end. it helped me get connections into a CPA firm. I was not a very great accountant, to be honest with you, but it got me an avenue. I think that you can get avenues out, even if you don't go to college, you still have opportunities. And, would I be here? I think I would be. I don't know if it'd be in the same industry or the business that I'm doing right now or I was doing. But I think it definitely helped. I think it helped a lot just with discipline, studying, setting a schedule, having some goals and all those things. So if you weren't in college or you didn't go to college, I think trying to develop those skills outside of that is really important, and that takes a lot of self discipline. I think you're in great hands with Kamran, because I mean he's very tactical about that, which I think is awesome and very helpful. So yeah, I mean, I'm grateful that I got an opportunity to go to college. I was prepared to, do what I'm doing even without it, if I didn't get that opportunity.
Burke, I got a couple of questions that are going to be fire questions. There's no wrong or right answer. They're just
Okay.
fire off the fast answer you've got. How many of the friends that you knew in college do you really still connect with?
One.
And about high school friends, any?
One. He's actually coming in tomorrow to visit.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Life friends that you've known for life, that you've done life with. How many of those?
Oh, couple.
Couple. So what you
Couple.
guys have here, 7 of you that can walk this rest of your life out. Can't keep telling you, it's unheard of. It's up to you to value it. It's up to you to make it something that's valuable. We've already turned 2 more people down that have asked to come in, right? So I think that's insanely valuable. And you all are doing the same work, and you can help each other. I think that's really good. Okay, Burke, you have been, when I remember Burke, he had one of the biggest houses in Snoqualmie Ridge, on the corner, on the 3rd hole, and golf course, always big. Burke's got Porsches and Mercedes G-Wagons, and he's super calm. He made almost $1 million on one of his flips last year. He made a couple $1 million on his stock investments last year. The guy's pretty humble, and he's not telling you everything. But I will tell you this, he's a great man to his wife. He's a great father to his kids. He's a blended family, and he loves it. Today. He took his son to school, from school, to school, from school, to sports, from sports. Like, he's a good father. Integrity and the quality of men that I'm putting in front of you, it isn't just someone who's good in business. They do not make this panel unless they are a good husband first, a good father second, and a good business person third. So it's very hard to find those people, but that's a really big thing. So Burke, I really appreciate you being here. You definitely don't have to stay anymore. I'm going to ream through their finances right now and give them.
Can I jump in real quick? I guess you bringing that up, Kamran. You brought up Burke, you're a Christian, your faith. I was just curious how that played a real big part in, business and life.
It plays a part in my life every day. And I think for me, my Christianity, my faith is everything. I think it really helps you. I pray a lot for wisdom in making decisions, opening doors, closing doors, and you got to hold. And for me, you hold things very loosely. Like, you go after everything, but you don't get everything. And so if you're praying for something and a door closes, you're like, all right, well, there's going to be something else that opens up. And that's the way I've kind of held my life. Like, all right, I'm going to shoot for this, and if I don't get that, then something else is going to present itself, so be ready. And so yeah, my faith has had a huge impact on, I think, my success. I try to live in a way that I'm very generous, just like Kamran and Jenna, where I'm giving back, and I hold it very loosely. And I think that, God's blessed us because of that. And it has worked for us. But I mean, I pray a lot for wisdom, because wisdom's a big deal. Being very clear-headed, very, very open to the avenues that for me, for what God has in mind for me.
Thank you.
I'll give you an example that he may not tell you, but he had a manager steal almost $15,000 from him and they handled it professionally, and they decided not to press charges. Not saying that they valued the person or even thought the person was remorseful when it was over, because I don't believe that person was, and I don't think they were either. But there's times and places where the Bible says, be wise as serpents and gentle as doves. And the wisdom came in cleaning up the mess, and this, the gentleness was the release. I think I would not have been as kind, but he was, for sure.
Yeah, it's you hold each situation differently, and there's been times where I've had employees steal from me in the past where I have gone after them for whatever reason I felt it was necessary, and probably more to teach them a lesson in their life so that they will be better off in the long run, as opposed to me gaining any financial advantage or recourse or whatever from them stealing. But it happens. You get disappointed in people, and that's okay. You do the best you can, and you move on, and try to surround yourself with people that are like-minded and want to be successful, and that surround yourself with good people.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Burke. Appreciate
Thank you, Burke.
Thank you guys. I really
Thanks,
appreciate
Burke.
being here, and really wish all you guys the very best. If you guys have any questions or want to reach out directly to me at any time, the door's open.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you guys. I'm going to tune out and
Good.
go over all your financials and tell you how many push-ups you're going to do.
Yeah, right.
Thanks, Burke.
All right, guys. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
You guys like that?
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was great.
The next one
Thanks for setting that up.
I want to put Jordan Watkins on here. He'll definitely come back on. Jordan is insanely successful in Amazon, but he is not an entrepreneur. So you'll get a side of a professional who has climbed. I think Jordan's making 700-800K a year right now at Amazon. And I think the next level, he told me, he has to legally disclose if he sells stocks. I don't know a whole lot about corporate America, but that sounds like a pretty high level. Banker, does that sound like a pretty high level based on?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Burke is divorced and remarried. He's a good man and a very faithful man. And so I really love that. Jordan Watkins also is divorced and on a second marriage with a blended family, and people that I would say that their character is high. So I really am keeping that level high for you guys. So let's just quickly jump into this. Any questions, thoughts, comments about Burke?
No, but at least for me, something that I don't know if we ever told you whatever happened to that other guy that you wanted us to talk to.
Yeah, Bridger.
He just never really reached out to us, never made an effort, never like followed through. Nothing like that. So it's not even like we had a decision to make.
Yeah, but I think that's the beauty, right? Like that's the beauty of you guys. That's the beauty of people like Burke. Like they get up and they keep going, and they fall down and they keep going. And
Yeah.
I'm super grateful for those kind of things. And so, yeah, at the end of the day, that's the way it works. That's why we have the 7 of us. That's why the door doesn't get open to more people. I mean it. Like you got a good group, and 7's a solid number, but it is going to take you guys. This is going to come to the point where you're all like, and you have to push past that and push past. Like we go every week. This is what we do. This is our accountability. Drew's at work right now. I'm like, good job, dude. Stay at work. Get the job done. Like we want to motivate that. He's doing his work.
Yeah.
Burke, he's a cool guy. So he does flips now. And him and his wife, they just bought a house for like 1.8 million. They sold it for 2.9 million, 2.8 million. He made like $800,000-$900,000 on it. Or he bought it for 1.3, put $500,000 into it, something like that. They made 800,000 or 900,000. They did another one. He's got a land. He's partnered on a piece of land they bought for $3 million. He lives in a $3 million house he paid cash for. He bought another lot for $1 million. They're going to build a $6 million house on it. He's trying to buy, like, he buys like crazy. He bought a shit ton of NVIDIA, made a couple $1 million on NVIDIA the last few years. That went really well for him. He bought Microsoft. That went really well for him. It's like, touch turns to gold. Can you touch my car? I got a good life lesson I want to share with you guys. And then did you guys send each other your homework?
The 100
Yeah,
or
Your banks, your income.
It's all on the web,
yeah,
the thread.
But
we got an
you
email chain.
to each other, right?
Yeah,
Sweet.
yeah.
Y'all can do that this week. I'm not going to take the time to go through your money. Go through your money.
Damn
And
it, I did good.
what's that?
Yeah,
I said,
shit.
damn it, I did good. I
we'll
got
just
green.
look at yours, Ethan. We'll just all applaud for Ethan. We should do
You'll
Yeah,
that.
like me
thanks.
this month, but next month this is not going to be good.
Please make sure Andrew did his. I don't know if he has, and he didn't last month, and he needs that accountability.
Yeah.
He's a good kid. He's growing up. So please, 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 please.
Wait,
I-
I'm trying to blank on that. This is different than our spreadsheets.
No,
Yeah,
no,
this-
No.
It's your
This is-
your monthly.
This is our monthly budget.
Oh, yeah. I was like, yeah, I did that. What if this is something different? I was like, did I miss the meeting?
I want
What's
you
happening?
guys to just check your own. I don't have the time tonight. I've got to be honest with you. I'm in the thick of a tough season. Income is low, and so I'm working my butt off right now. And I got to turn something in that's just cooking my backside right now. This DC Ranch HOA thing is ridiculous. So, more to learn there. But I got to share a loss with you today. It's a life lesson. When years ago, there's two of them. Years ago, my wife and I were going to buy a car. I wanted to put her in an Escalade. I would have been married maybe 4 years, 3 years. So 10, 11 years ago. Long story short, it was a scam. And it was one that I fell for. I had bought a car, a Honda, years before that, and I went to the dealership and I bought it at the dealership. And I was trying to put it on a credit card, and they said we can't do that. We can only do $3,000. That's the max. Fast forward, I'm buying an Escalade. I'm now buying it online, and the guy's like, a max I can do is like $2,000. Other than that, you're gonna have to run it through. I'm a small guy. You got to run it through my friend's credit card machine. I'm like, okay, well, as long as I get the car. And he ended up buying a $22,000, $23,000 watch through his friends, and it got shipped to a random, vacated building. The watch did, and I got stuck with a $23,000 bill. He got a watch. I couldn't get out of it. I had to pay it. We refer to this as the Escalade experience. My wife's like, I didn't have peace about that. I should have said no. You wanted to do it, and I felt bad, and so we agreed. This is what Burke's talking about. You're going to have mistakes in life, and you're going to learn from them, and you can't completely avoid them. We can help you out of a lot of them, right? Through character building, integrity building, getting your homework in on time, showing up to work early, leaving work late. This is all stuff that can help you skip potholes that will hurt you. But some are just going to hit you anyways, because it's life, right? There is no perfect day. So we always refer to that as the Escalade experience. Let's never, ever say yes to something because we feel the other person wants us to say yes to it. Let's be honest about our feelings. And if you move forward, you move forward, but we can't budget. Friday, I called, in real estate, when you make an offer on a house, you make an offer, it's not a done deal, right? They could sign it, you have ways out, but even more so, usually it's like a verbal call first and see what the worth is like. So I called my general manager at the car dealership, and I was like, hey, I found this car. It's an Audi R8. I was pretty excited about it. Twin turbos. So it's pushing out 925 horsepower, 760 to the rims. And I said, they want $190. What would you do? He's like, probably offer him $175. I said, make the offer. Let's see what they say. Saturday morning, calls me. He's like, hey, give me a ring. I give him a ring. He's like, so they accepted your offer. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Let me talk to my wife and make sure she's on board. Right. Because I did a little research. Side note, it's the first Hennessy twin turbo motor ever installed on an R8. All the Hennessy twin turbo stuff you could search online. It's like a silver blue car. It's this car. All the videos are what they did to this car. It was installed by Hennessy. So I was super excited. Serial number 001. It was done right, not just some small shop on the side. He goes, I said, let me talk to my wife. He goes, no, it's a done deal. I put the number in and it's ours. I bought the car. It's your car. Oh, so I have to go tell my wife I just spent $200,000 on a car that she doesn't know I made an offer on, doesn't know. Yeah, Hunter's laughing because he knows how much shit that I'm in, So you can imagine that went over absolutely like a lead balloon. Just did not. I yelled at, crying, you've ruined our life. You can't believe you destroyed this relationship. I mean, she was just hurt and freaking out. Like, tough times were plentiful money, but just, you don't go buying a $200,000 car without talking to your wife. Okay. That note. So Sunday comes and she's like, you need to get out of it. I calmed her down. She realized that we're fine. We have plenty of money, but she's like, I want you to get out of it. And I'm like, that's great, but I'm not sure I want to get out of it. And it definitely brought up a lot. So a couple of lessons from this. Number one, be aware of what you say. Not everything that you think you're signing. Just because you're not signing doesn't mean you're not signing. So it's a great example of read everything you sign. This is a reminder. Don't just skim read it. Make sure you know what you're signing. Make sure you know what you're committing to verbally. I told a friend I really want to partner with them. I sent them a little fun thing. Hey, what would you do with this fireplace? Thinking like, would you go higher or wider on, like, would you go like this? Would you stay here or would you go here? I had it taped off, like blue tape. Here's what I want to do with this. Came out with, I would make it wider and I would do this and I would do that. I'm like, whoa, that is not our vibe at all. They're like, oh, I would definitely. And now like, maybe I don't want to be in partnership with my best friend who I was years ago and all the opinions. So you just want to be cautious what you're committing to. Keep everything as maybes. That's very interesting. I want to look into it. Really be slow to any verbal kind of yes in your life. Is that a fair warning? Right? They're my best friends. I've been in business with him before. Right. I've been in holy orange.
Hello, Trump.
Yeah, seriously. Just getting dark in here. I'm like, all right, there we go. So I really want you guys to be careful of what you verbally agree to with relationships. I want you to be careful of what you signed. And I want you to realize that all of that's important. And if anything ever has to be rushed, the answer is no. If it's right now, it's not now. Sorry. Like, just don't need to. Right now, fast forward, I call on Monday. He's like, I'm not working. It's my day off. The manager. I'm like, thanks. All right. So Tuesday he calls me. He's like, well, I called the guy and it turns out they did an E85 kit, E85 upgrade to the CPU. And if you flip a switch and put E85 gas in the car, you'll get 12 to 1300 horsepower out of the car. And I'm like, yeah, I don't need a freaking rocket ship, man. Like, I'm not going to die in this thing. And then he's like, and they put in a new clutch because they had to. It was too much power for the clutch. I'm like, look, this is somebody else's science project. This is not a car. Like, I want out of this deal, please. And so he's like, let me see what I can do. He's like, okay, it doesn't have any catalytic converters. They removed those in the exhaust system too. And so I was able to get out because we can't resell that car, blah, 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 blah. So praise God, I got out of the car. I did turn it into an opportunity to speak to my wife and say, hey, this brought up a lot for me. And one of the things it brought up is why I'm 43 and we're worth millions and millions of dollars. And I don't have a car that I've always wanted and that we've talked about a lot. So this needs to change and we need to have something by Christmas. So we're going to move some properties, sell some stuff and move stuff around. But great opportunity to take something that was bad, turn into something was good. I don't believe that it is always you should submit to your spouse or your spouse to you just because it didn't go the way they want. But in general, I think it's a good decision to, as much as you can, be patient, talk through things, and always be careful about your commitments. Yeah.
So you're getting a Ferrari this Christmas?
I borrowed my friend's Ferrari for the weekend. I drove it for Friday to Monday, $450,000 car. It was great. I like it a lot. I'm not sure I like it an extra $250,000 on top of a $200-something thousand R8 that I think I'll get a lot of attitude out of and I'll enjoy it. I might end up with the McLaren. I think that might be another fun car, like the McLaren GT. I think that could be a really fun car. I really enjoy it. I'm gonna have to test drive a few more. I'm flying to Santa Barbara on Thursday. I will be landing in Burbank and on JSX. Everybody seen JSX? Super sweet. If you haven't, look up JSX. It's semi-private flying. It's kind of cool. They do short hoppers and a lot out of California. So you go to the private airfields and you just walk right on and they pick you up 10 minutes, 20 minutes before your flight, drop you off and you walk out. And then I've rented an Audi R8, 2022 yellow convertible. I'll be driving it up, staying, thank you to Joey, at Marmont. So he hooked us up with a couple nights, friends and family. So I'll be staying there Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. Thursday night, I have a big party at the Hill. Friday, I'm pretty open. Saturday, I'm doing a race with the car. That's why I rented it, so I don't have to use it.
Oh, shit.
It's a rally, 250 miles we leave the polo fields and we go 250 miles all the way around and back. There are 4 stops. You don't know where the stops are. The 2 examples they gave me of stops last year were you have a navigator rips open the bag and pulls out the navigation. It's like drive 6.2 miles and turn left at the oak tree. Drive 4.8. So it's not like GPS miles. You have to like pay attention to what you're doing while you're driving fast. Your driver's license go in an envelope that is sealed. If you come back and it's been opened because of a police officer, you're disqualified. So every 80 miles you stop and there's an event. One event was your navigator has to be blindfolded and drink a bunch of wine and say which one was the Pinot, which one was the Cab, which one was you don't get to go until they get it right. So they get a little bit tipsy if they get it wrong. The second stop, example they gave me was dodgeball. You play dodgeball with a bunch of Boys and Girls Clubs of America, and they had the UCSB basketball team come out in the middle of the game and beat the crap out of you. And so until you win, you can't go on. And so there's a bunch of people that drive the speed limit. And of course, there is a bunch of people in Montecito with money, and they 130, 140, 150, doing whatever they can to push it. So navigator, Dale Kieran, which I think was your Ethan.
Yeah.
And
I know Dale Kieran.
Dale taught the entrepreneur class at West. And so he's going to be my co-pilot. And then Saturday night, we have a huge gala for it. So I'll be in town Friday if there's some opportunity to hang out. You know that I'm there. Those are
Friday.
Hunter, so excited for you in this new season, Mr. Mudrovich, and your new role. Hunter Hellman and your new role. Ethan, your sales, Joey. I mean, everybody's doing really well. I'm really proud of you guys. That's all I got. Good meeting.
Yeah.
Good meeting. What do you want to do Friday?
Just of 100 tangible things you want to own. And here's why. It should open your mind. It should be hard. You have to think beyond like, okay, crap, I know what else I want. So good. Break the pattern of this is all I want. What else? Get out. Think bigger. Think larger. Think different. That's the goal. And then the next one we're going to do is 100 experiences you want to have.
Well, a lot of them in mine are experiences already. Should I take those?
Rewrite the whole thing.
Start it over.
Okay, well, shit. I'm at 96, so that's going to set me back a decent.
You go, set them apart. I'll tell you what experience. Y'all should look up the 4 Seasons around the world plane flight. Few $100,000, but you get on the 4 Seasons plane and they fly you all over the world and stop, and the whole thing is an experience. You have the same seat in the plane every time you're flying. It's you and a significant other, and they feed you, and it's a beautiful plane and a beautiful experience.
It's funny.
I'll tell you what, Kamran, that race that you brought up might be the most rich person shit I've ever heard of.
Yeah, and it's funny. One of the things on my 100 is, quote, I want friends to do rich people shit with, and that's exactly what that is.
Nice.
Well,
we're on our way.
My experience is I want to be able to rent a 175-foot yacht once a week, 1 week a year, every year, so I can take my family on it. Like, it's not about money. Okay, we need money to do that. This agenda, this 100 isn't about trying to tell you need to want money or need money or even you need money. I don't need you to ever be rich. I need you to think different. And this is an exercise to do that. Okay? Do not get to the end of this exercise and be like, so Kamran wants me to have all this crap. I don't even care if you do. I want you to think realistically and think different. So get to 100 things that you want to tangibly own, okay?
What do you want to do Friday? Breakfast, lunch, that kind of thing?
Depending on how good the sex is Thursday night, it might be a brunch versus a breakfast. But
keep it late.
I don't know.
Nice and late.
After the
Good
car.
luck to you, Tiger. I hope you get it.
I hope so too. So, but yeah, and if there's more than one of you, then you don't get to ride in my car. If it's one of you, I'll take you in the car.
Yeah, Kamran, I'll probably be working Friday at the bar, so feel free to pop by.
Sounds
Less
like
people, the better. Sounds like.
So maybe we're doing drinks Friday night at the bar with Joey.
There you
There
go.
you
All
I'll
right.
be your navigator. I gotta take 3 shots before I leave.
Oh, blindfold banker.
I'll end up in Pismo Beach. Like, where are we now? We're here.
Driving to the water.
Oh my gosh.
All right, guys. Talk soon.
Later.
See ya.